Hi, welcome back. This is my computer screen. I've already opened Excel for you, and just to make sure that you remember, the video is about the 5 mistakes probably we would be doing while using VBA and Excel. So I have my Excel open. This is a pure blank workbook. So the first thing that I would really want to iterate while stating the first mistake that probably you all are making, or probably the beginners at least who are in VBA are doing, is not leveraging the record feature which is already available in Excel. So this is the record feature that I would really want you guys to use. So I'll give you a glimpse of the same. So suppose if I have the ranges data till 20, right? So I just want to know what is the best way to make sure that this gets copied over a different sheet. So of course you can write a VBA code for the same, but why to reinvent the wheel when the option is available for you? So what I mean by this is you can simply go into record macro and write copy code. The macro is now recording. You can simply do a control C, then do a control V and stop the macro, and then you would see that it is that easy to do a copy paste code. So if I would delete the same here, if I come back, if I go into view macros and if I run it, it creates a different sheet altogether, and then this is all done. So you don't have to write a code for the same. You can simply use the recorder to do it for you. You can also do things like data duplication, removal and everything. So suppose if I write 20 back again, write 19, write 2 and write this. Of course it's very easy to understand that yes, there are some duplicates. What you can do is you can again do a record macro, write remove duplicates, and then go into this one, go into data, remove duplicates, and job is done for you. Now you can go back, stop the recording. So anytime going forward, if there is a duplicate stuff in your data, you can simply go into your recorded macros and then run it, and you'll see that it removes the duplicate for you. So why would you write a big line or big coding iteration for removal of duplication if that is available for you in the IDE itself, basically Excel as an application itself? So if you want to review the code what was written, you can simply hop back to this one and check. Yes, indeed, you can see that okay, this is the code, and you can make some changes and then it can work in accordance to you or the requirements that you have while creating the automations or doing some tasks. Alright, so this was the first one. The second one that I would want you guys to see is go into your IDE basically by pressing Alt F11 on your Excel, and it would open like this, and then go into a module. Will create a different module altogether, and I would want you to check the feature called Debug Dot Print. So most of the people are not using it, so I would really want you guys to have a look at the same. So if I go like this and do next I, and now suppose if I want to understand or check what is there in the ranges, what I can do, I can do right A and then to and then to I, and then its value, right? So most of the people here do what they do is they make a message box and then check the values. I don't understand why you guys are doing that. You can write debug dot print, and then what will happen if you would go through the code, you'll see that here at the window you can see the values. Let's see what value do we have in A. We don't have any value here, so that is why you are unable to see it. Let's go into sheet 3 and now run it, and you will see that yes, indeed the value comes here. So this is how you use debug dot print. Please leverage such features to check the values. Don't use message box while you are in the code to check what exactly you get when a variable will get a certain value from some other variable or by doing some calculations, right? So debug dot print is something that you need to use. I've already written it over here, right? If you don't have the immediate window right now displayed at your screen, if you're going along with me, you can go into view, you can use the immediate window like this, and then you will see immediate window on your screen. So the next tip or trick is also related to immediate window only. So what you need to do and understand is that you can always check the variable's value while the code is running. Yes, of course, hover options are there, but there's another option which is available to you. You can use that while you are in the code and check the values if you would have coded something else. So what I meant here is, so suppose if I have a variable called let's do a sum up. That means what I'm trying to do is, rather than this, let's draft a loop which is always fine. I equals to 1 to 10, next I. So now what I'm trying here is sum up should be I into 5, and then melt down would be I minus 5. So now if I hop onto the code, I get to know the value of sum up by hovering over the same and doing the same. But now suppose I wanted to check if I do minus 10, what would be the value of meltdown, right? Most of the people would write down the same here and then run it and then remove it. No, it's not the right way. You can do a question mark here and then see that if you would have had a minus 10 instead of minus 5, the value of meltdown would have been this. Similarly, if you would write the same and then 2 into 5, you see that it changes. So this is how you use the immediate window and use this specific thing that I'm talking about, which is the question mark. This is there in the Excel as a program only. Why would you do workaround? Instead use the same which is there available to you, and it should be apparent while using variables and having immediate window displayed on your screen, right? So this was the third thing that I'm going to tell. The fourth one is that always try to do stuff in an iterative manner. So what I meant by that is that let's get rid of this one and have sheet 3 only, right? So now suppose if I wish to make a program called copy and paste and then multiplying all the value by 3, right? So what I can do here is I can write sub copy paste and then do range a1 to a10 dot copy and then sheet 2 dot activate range a1 dot activate and then active cell dot paste special excel paste. So this is the whole code, right? Instead of doing everything in one, what I can do is I can copy and paste, rather cut from the same and then write another routine called method and then paste the code here. It would not work because we don't have a second sheet with us. So for that, what you can do is you can use the code to add the same, but we're not using that because we are dealing with a different topic altogether. So if I do this and do this, it works in a very fine manner. But with this, I would get to know always that whether this module or whether this method has an issue or whether this method has an issue. So suppose what I meant here is if I do 3 and if I go like this, I get to know that here is the issue, nothing is wrong here, right? So I know that it's a very simple program that I'm trying to showcase, so hence you would not be in consensus that this is all rubbish. No, iterative methods are the best methods to have a solution to a problem. You cannot make one routine and then basically one function and plaster it up with 150 180 lines. You would get confused what exactly is happening. So it's better that you have an iterative approach to have a solution to a problem, and that is create different functions and then have a chant to it. So suppose if what I meant by there is multiply was the method that I was talking about. So if I do this one and now call this and then say for I equals to 1 to 10 and then range what I can do is range into I equals to, I know there are many ways to do it, but I believe that for the sake of this example we can do this. Right, so make sure that sheet 3 is active. Of course it will be, but still sheet 3 is not available, so sheet 2 must be the same. And then what is going to happen here is that if I remove this one and be on this one, let's run the method. So I did not put next I. This is important. This, you can see that it copied and pasted stuff and then multiplied the same with I. So this is the iterative method that I want to talk about. So you can use this type of solutioning to make sure that the code that you're writing is right. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about is completely against what I wrote just now, and that is always declare your variables. So what I meant by that is, so suppose always, of course when you'll be doing coding in VBA or any other language, you'll be declaring variables where you would be storing data or any of the calculations that you might be doing. So for this one, let's say sum up equals to range a1 dot value, right? So now a1 can be an integer, can be text, can be date. So how you will make sure that the data integrity is there, that yes, the right data you were able to grasp or absorb. So for that, what we do is we write something called declaration. So we write dim sum up as what? Integer. So now it works. So what I meant here is, suppose if somebody writes ABC instead of 1, your code will not work, because I tell you why, because what you have said to the interpreter, basically idea is that sum up will always be an integer, then only it will start to work, or else it would not. And so the bigger picture here is, so suppose if I write sum up equals to sum up plus 5. So what you're expecting is always, even though let's forget about this one, your expectation is that every time sum up will come up with the value, you would plus it up. But here it would not work, because it should ideally stop here only, because it is an integer value that you were expecting, but you got text. If it would have been first and you would run the code, it would work. You know why? Because you got integer, but how did you make sure that it would always be an integer? Through variable declaration. You have to make sure that you declare all variables. It improves the efficacy of the solution that you've designed. It keeps you in control while making these programs, and you would know how the data flow is happening. So make sure you always declare your variables. So these were the 5 things that I wanted to tell you about. So I'll repeat those again. The first one is use the record feature. It is there already built in the system, so you can leverage that. The second one is make sure that you use the immediate window. Through that you can use Debug Dot Print, and you can have question mark as a prefix and then variable to check your code. The fourth one was the iterative solutioning. So basically make sure that all the methods are divided into different segments instead of one cluttered function. And the fifth one is something that I've showcased to you here, is that declare your variables. That is quite important. So declare your variables and ensure that you will not face much of the issues if you're in a learning phase like VBA for beginners type of stuff. What you can do is you can follow up these videos. I'll be making more videos on VBAs. Basically I think that people have lost touch in 2022. However, there is too much of analysis that people are doing using Excel, and they are not leveraging VBA. So if you think that this video made a difference, please like it. Please put some comments on it so that I can get to know what needs to be made next. Or if there is something that I missed, please put that in the comments too. Please subscribe the channel, it helps us a lot. Thank you for tuning in. See you in the next video.